Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Russell Aaron, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. How's everybody doing today?
Hey, good morning.
We're doing great.
Lisa?
Thanks for having us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Let's start by going around and introducing ourselves.
Cool. Hey, I'm going to go first. My name is Russell Aaron. I'm a developer here at the Plaza Hotel and Casino. I work on the website and the booking engine, and I help make it easy for you to buy tickets and come down and enjoy what's happening on down here at the Plaza.
Nice. Gary, how about you?
My name is Gary Vickery. I'm the Director of Hotel Operations here at the Plaza. So after Lisa engages them, brings them into the property, and Russ goes ahead and takes care of all of their booking information, I'm the first person that they see at the front desk, be able to greet them and give them that great experience.
You really see it all.
I see a little bit of everything, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we move along.
Jonathan Jossel, our guest of honor, tell us about you.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here with you. My name is Jonathan Jossel. I am the CEO of the Plaza, and I am excited to be joining you to do this podcast. Hopefully it's going to become something of a regular occurrence for us, and we'll have some fun, tell our stories, and share some insights.
You'll hear from us every week. We're going to have guests on the podcast. We're going to talk to you about what's going on downtown, what's going on at the Plaza, and what it takes to run a casino, all the behind the scenes that you're curious about. If you have any questions, please email us at podcast@plazahotelcasino.com. You can tweet Jonathan at Jonathan Jossel, or you can tweet the Plaza at Plaza Las Vegas.
You know, something, Lisa, that I'm really excited about for this podcast is we're going to get to hear Jonathan's perspective of what you saw when you first came to downtown to what you're doing now. And, you know, that's something that first attracted me to downtown was I started going to the Smith Center, and we would come over here to eat, and we'd park here, and we would see comedy with Louis Anderson. Like, that was the first impression I had of the Plaza, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Russ. As some people say, it's a 12-year overnight success.
I mean, so much has changed downtown. What do you think first-timers should expect in downtown Las Vegas?
It's a totally different environment to what you would have seen prior, but today you're coming down here, and what's impressed me, if we're talking about right now, is how event-driven downtown has become. Every single week and weekend, you're literally seeing a wide variety of events, from concerts to the Fremont Street Experience to First Friday to festivals, to comedy shows, to things that we're doing here, demolition derbies. It's become an event-driven neighborhood, and I think that's a big part of why downtown's become so successful in the last few years, is how much energy and excitement there is down here is bringing people here.
There is so much energy, so much change. We're sitting here in Oscars, and you can see on Fremont Street, they're building a new LED wall. They're building up this huge casino right next to us. There is a lot happening down here, and it's an exciting time to be here.
Best place to be on the corner of Main Street.
When we talk about like entertainment, we're doing so much here at the Plaza. We have our demolition derby, and we have concerts and like the pool events. Like, from what you
fireworks,
and the fireworks are my favorite. Like, we have so much to talk about with fireworks. Like, I want to do a whole episode with fireworks. But my point here is, like, with so much entertainment, do you think it's easy for somebody who likes a wide variety of things? Like, do you think they'd really be happy with all the things you can do downtown? I feel like there's always, like you were saying, there's concerts, or there's something to go attend, there's something to go see, there's always some kind of tournament you can get into. What attracts you to downtown?
You've touched on a very important subject, Russ.
Thank you.
In the old days, people loved downtown Las Vegas, but there wasn't nice hotel rooms, there wasn't nice restaurants, there wasn't shows, there wasn't entertainment. So you had this really cool historic area, which is downtown Las Vegas, and people would say, let's go visit downtown, and what they would do is they come and check the Fremont Street Experience out, because really in 2004, 5, 6, 7, that's all there was.
Sure.
And they would leave and go back to the Strip. But what you've just touched on is, today you have the Smith Center, you have all the hotels, almost all the hotels, have upgraded their hotel rooms. There's new restaurants, there's the Fremont East Entertainment District, there's now the Arts District. There's the new Downtown Event Center. There's the Core Arena. There's so much more to do down here. And so in the old days, I think there was this idea of, oh, it's historic, it's neon, it's cool. We got to go see the Pioneer sign, the Cowboy, whatever. But then you leave. Today, they're staying down here, they're eating down here, they're gambling down here. Everyone's upgraded their casino floors. Not everyone, but there's a few new pool decks down here. So there's so much more to do, and there is something for everybody. So it is a reason for people to come down here and actually stay down here, as opposed to 10 years ago, 12 years ago, was just, hey, let's check it out. But we're going to go eat at the Strip. We're going to go walk around the Strip.
And I think downtown has kept some of its value as well as prices have increased. I think you could still find great odds. You can still find a great variety of slot machines down here on the casino floor here, as well as in the rest of Fremont Street. And I think it really brings, the value and entertainment that you're looking for. The people are accustomed to when they hear about Las Vegas, if they've never been to Las Vegas before. Downtown, I think, encompasses all of that now.
Value is very subjective, but you are correct. If you're going to gamble and you're looking for a better, longer experience, people are coming downtown for that as well. Whether it's slots or table games, there's better value here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the Plaza directly, and having 3-2 blackjack for somebody who's into gaming, I'm somebody who is into gaming. I think is huge. It's huge for locals. It's huge for anybody coming to Las Vegas.
I mean, you could go further than that and say even single zero roulette, 10 times odds on craps. These are the things that people, frankly, should experience, but it's slightly changing, and we're proud to still be able to offer that.
Can we talk about single zero roulette for a second? Because we just had Ashley Revel come out.
Yes.
Tell us about him.
Well, that was the first YouTube video that I actually saw at the Plaza. Was that dude coming in, he's lined up at the table, and he has his whole life savings, and he puts it on. It was red or black. Which one was it, Jonathan?
He went red.
He went red. So the guy put his whole life savings. Tell us about this.
Well, I wasn't here in 2004,
okay.
So I wasn't here when he did that bet. I was a little upset because I wanted him to do a big bet. I think it was $130,000 in 2004. Not that I would ever recommend anyone put their life savings on a roulette spin. I'm not advocating for that. But $130,000 on a color was kind of exciting and something that we all wanted to see. He agreed to come out, Lisa, as part of a promotion for our new single zero roulette table that we launched. We are the only ones downtown that offer single zero roulette. I believe, I don't have all the stats, but I believe we're the only ones in the city that offer it at a $10 limit. I've seen some triple zero roulette downtown, and they're busy tables. The average person may not know the difference. Single zero roulette may not work because people just don't know what the difference is. But candidly, single zero roulette's just better odds for the customer, and dramatically better odds for the customer. Being from England, it's what I'm used to because it's all there is in England is single zero roulette. There's still an edge for the casino, so there's no reason to have double zero, triple zero. It just means the customer loses quicker. But Ashley Revel was, as Russ just said, a guy who made a video. It became huge. It's still to this day probably the most talked about thing online when it comes to the Plaza, in terms of he sold all of his life possessions in England, came out here, and then because of what he was doing, it got picked up by Sky Network, and they came and made a documentary about it. He put it on Red 7. No, sorry, he put it on Red, and it landed on Red 7, and he won he doubled his life savings. So when we approached him about coming out, he said, well, I'd love to do it, but just so you know, I'm married, I got a kid, I got a job. I'm not sure I can do what I did last time in terms of everything. So do you mind if I don't do as big of a bet? And we said, of course, it's just we wanted to bring him out here and relive the history of it. So anyway, he came out, he did the spin, and he won. He won again. The guy's lucky. The guy's got the Midas touch.
Super
he puts
lucky.
it on red, and he wins.
What was most amazing when that happened was that happened 15 years ago, and it still resonated with people that we had people coming out trying to get his autograph. Right there in our grand opening of the party pit. It was amazing.
I mean, it's something when you come to Vegas, you automatically think we're gonna gamble, we're gonna have a good time, and so to see somebody that's going off of the deep end, that's a big bet. I think people dream of hitting numbers like that, and this dude was just here, hold my beer, watch this. I'm rooting for that guy in that video.
Absolutely.
I'm come on, hit this, it was cool to bring him down here again.
It was a great idea, and I have to give you credit for it, Jonathan. It was your idea. You are the mastermind behind this place. You're the CEO. Tell us, how did you get here? How did you end up here?
I moved here July 2007, but I'd come out here in July of 2005 to see what it was all about. And the reason for that was I was at University in Birmingham, which is about an hour and a half outside of London. And I was doing my thesis at the time on the gambling industry in the UK. I was always interested in the industry. I loved gambling. I loved the science behind it. I loved the thrill of it. And frankly, I liked playing myself. At the time, they were discussing the idea of what would happen if they brought Las Vegas-style casinos to the UK. There was a couple of locations being considered. What would be the economic impact of it, which is very similar to what happens now in Japan, what happened in Singapore. At the time in 2004, it was all about would these be able to come to London. I was just studying that, what was the business behind it. And one day, through some family friends, I went to a gentleman's house for lunch. And I told him what I was doing, and he said, "Oh, well, that's interesting. I just bought 6 casinos in downtown Las Vegas and about 50 acres of land." And I was kind of thrown back. Not every day you meet a gentleman like this. His name's Poyu Zabladovic, and I left the lunch totally taken by this guy. And I said, well, he offered me, through the conversation, would I be interested in work experience? I think I was 20 at the time. And I followed up with him the next day. I followed up with him every day after that. And finally he just said, okay, go to Las Vegas, go, and we'll set you up with something there. So I came out here in 2005, and I lived in the Plaza. I lived in a Derby suite on my own.
What floor?
22.
Awesome.
2254, I think, Gary. That's the Derby
Wow.
suite. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, the Plaza did not look anything like it looks today. I lived in the hotel, and I'm literally on my own, 20 years old, and the guys who were running this project were in New York. And so they would come out maybe every 2 weeks for 3 days, but the rest of the time I was pretty much on my own. So after 5 weeks, I called up Poyu and I said, listen, man, this is great. Thank you for the opportunity. It's very cool what you got here, but I'm out of here. There was nothing. So if I tell you that the Plaza wasn't what it looked like today, the Fremont Street experience wasn't what it looked like today, there was none of the entertainment. There was no stages. There was just the light show, the canopy. None of the hotels had been upgraded. So when you walk to the end of Las Vegas Boulevard, there was nothing to do. There was no bars. There was no restaurants. There was no nice hotels. There was no entertainment. And I'm 20 years old and on my own in downtown Las Vegas. I was like, all right, I'm out of here. So I left, but I made good contacts within the company. And
Was there one contributing factor that made you not be interested in downtown Las Vegas at that
it's
time?
not that I wasn't interested in downtown. Firstly, keep in mind I was 20, so I couldn't do many of the things that you can do in America. In England, you can because you have to be 18. In America, I couldn't do anything.
Okay.
Drinking-wise, gambling-wise. And then the other part of it was it just wasn't ready. It was his vision was that downtown was going to be revitalized because he invested in Times Square in New York.
Poyu. Yeah.
He invested in Times Square in New York in 1989 with the vision that it was going to be revitalized. Times Square was going to become the center of America. And everyone told him, you're crazy, that's not going to happen. And of course, he was brilliant. It's the center of America today. The idea was that downtown Las Vegas could be the same thing, but I'm sitting here in 2005 thinking he's a little ahead of the curve. There's nothing here right now, and it's going to be a longer project. So after 5 weeks, I thought, I've seen enough, and I perhaps didn't have the same foresight and vision he did to stick it through back then. Again, I was 20 years old. So I made good contacts within the company. I left, and when I finished university 1 year later, they offered me a job in London. So I worked for Poyu for 2 years in London, and I was kind of ready to challenge myself, try something new.
Were you still doing casino stuff?
No, nothing to casinos.
Okay.
Nothing, just real estate. All real estate.
Were you still like reading? Like I imagine, like when you're going to school and like you become obsessed with something, or like it's your life. Do you keep reading trades, or do you keep staying up?
I was gambling.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you were doing hands-on research. All right, I get it.
Hands-on research, exactly. I was still researching. I was still following along what was happening, but downtown Las Vegas was moving a little slower at the time. And anyway, in 2007, he walks into the office and he says, listen, I need someone on the ground in Las Vegas. I'm having issues. I've had to buy out my partners. It's all changed out there. And by the way, there's a little bit of momentum in downtown. You might want to go out there. So I said, I hated it. Why would you want me to go out there now? I didn't hate it. That's harsh.
You couldn't go far off of
why am I going to leave my
Fremont?
family, go live in downtown again? I was just there to So he says, it's changing, trust me. So I got on a plane.
It's
from
changing,
London.
trust me, and you just jumped on a plane.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
I jump on a plane. I fly here in 2007, July. And I'll never forget, I come to the Plaza, and one of the guys who was working from New York was here, and he said, hey, it's Thursday, and we all go to this bar for happy hour. So I was like, wow, there's a bar? Like, this wasn't happening 2 years ago even. So I went to the downtown cocktail room, and that first day I'm here, I met two guys who to this day are still good friends of mine. Michael Cornthwaite, who owned the downtown cocktail room, and Sam Cherry, who was this young guy building a high-rise in downtown. And I looked at these two guys. One owned a bar in downtown, one owned a high-rise. I said, wow, it has changed since 2005. There really is some momentum here, and young people are getting involved. And for the next 3 months, I spent pretty much I was 21 now, I was 23. I spent every single day in the downtown cocktail room, because it was the only bar other than Beauty Bar and Griffin.
I don't see you at Beauty Bar too, so
No,
yeah.
I wasn't at Beauty
Now,
Bar.
at the time when you came back in 2007, were you still living on property?
Oh, I lived in the Las Vegas Club.
In the Las Vegas Club?
I lived in the Las Vegas Club on the 15th floor. I had a suite with a tub next to the bed. There was a round tub next to the bed. The bed was huge. It was like a retro.
Is this like a penthouse?
It was a penthouse in
Oh,
the Las
wow.
Vegas Club. Again, you say wow, but the Las Vegas Club wasn't much to wow about at the
As
time.
you're telling me this, though, like I'm looking, like Lisa said, across the street from Oscars, and like I'm kind of envisioning you, like young Jonathan at 21, running in and out of these hallways.
Yeah,
and,
there was a little bit of that. There was a little bit of that. But I knew in order to make something of my life here in Las Vegas, I couldn't live in a hotel. I had already done that before. Living in a hotel was not for me. And so I began looking at a high-rise. And Sam, who had just opened Soho Lofts, was like, well, we'll lease an apartment here. So I leased an apartment. I think it was about 4 weeks after I moved here, I got an apartment. Again, Poyu was very much the key behind all of this. He helped me get the apartment. He brought me to Las Vegas.
What
He
was your
the-
role while you were here?
So I was the director of real estate for Tamara's, who owned, at the time, think about this, they owned the Plaza, the Las Vegas Club, the Westin, not the Westin, but Western, on Fremont Fremont and 10th,
Yep.
between 9th and 10th. They owned the Gold Spike. They owned the Queen of Hearts, which nobody even knows about. They owned the Nevada Club, and they owned the Ambassador Motel. They owned about another 30 acres of land. So I'm out here, and we owned the buildings in East Fremont that we still own today. So he owned all those properties, and I was out here helping to manage the real estate. Keep in mind, Tamara's doesn't have the gaming license, so they weren't doing any of the gaming or day-to-day operation. They were managing the real estate.
Somebody else owned that business.
Somebody else was managing the operation of those businesses. We were doing the real estate. There was visions. We had boards to build a high-rise for residential. We had boards to build a new museum. We had boards to put in new restaurants. And then July 2007, when I moved out here, about 2 months later, the market crashes, the Great Recession begins, and all our plans are put on hold for future big development. But I was already here, and I already, at this time now, I'm not saying that I had such great vision, but I believed in what I was seeing. I believed downtown was going to happen in 2007. In 2005, I didn't believe it. 2007, I saw enough momentum, even though the recession was taking place and everything was going bust, for lack of a better word, and struggling. And ourselves, particularly the hotels, were doing badly at the time. It was an eye-opener to me that this could become an area that I believed in, and I committed myself to it. And if I could give anyone advice, especially you young guys on the podcast, it's perseverance and persistence, because a lot of people today don't have the persistence. They jump ship at the first opportunity. They don't want to see things through. But that persistence gave me the opportunity to be where I am today. It was difficult in that recession between 2007 to 2010. It was crazy here. People used to come to me and say they didn't know. To this day, they still come to me and say they didn't know if the building was still going to be here tomorrow. They were going to come to work and there'd be a padlock on the door.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what was happening all over the city. It was a scary time to be here, but it was a great opportunity to learn the business.
Good for you for sticking it through.
Thank you.
And then how did you switch from the real estate side to the gaming side?
Well, did you have any friction with the people that were still in operation at the time when you came over at 23 years old, kind of as the director of real estate?
So I think there wasn't that much friction because, one, I was so young. I don't think that anyone saw me as a threat. And two, I was so eager to learn and suck up the knowledge from everybody that I met that I was there to support them. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be a sponge for everything that they were doing. And even if they weren't the best operators or the most insightful, it was still good for me to have the exposure to this business. To watch the business being managed in a crisis was unbelievable. And I don't think there was friction until maybe later on when I finally wanted to become the CEO and realized that I thought I could do this job. But even then, it was fairly simple, and the people were supportive, and Ultimately, it's Poyer's business, so he could do whatever he wanted, and he gave me the reins. And the transition, Lisa, happened in 2014. But earlier than that, the Plaza had gone through a big remodel in 2010. We shut down. We had sold the Western to Tony Hsieh, the Ambassador lot to Tony Hsieh. We had sold the Las Vegas Club to Derek Stevens in 2015. So leading into all of that, there was the Plaza, which was our focus because we'd done this big remodel in 2010 and reopened in 2011. And the building just wasn't performing. And I saw how much it meant to team members that had been here 20, 30 years were saying, what happened? There was this back to this sort of fear again. And I committed myself that the Plaza was something I could do. And I called Poyer up and he said, well, Jonathan, at the time I was 29. He said, you're a 29-year-old kid. What are you going to do with the casino license? And I said, well, I've been here now 7 years. I think I can do this. And I want you to back me. And he said, okay. I went through the licensing process. I became a key employee first and then went through the licensing for the Plaza. And end of 2014 is when I actually got the unrestricted license. I believe I was 29 when I got it, which was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, unrestricted licensees in the state at the time. I took over shortly thereafter. But it wasn't that I suddenly just switched to casino. I'd been working and learning the casino business for the 7 years prior to that. It wasn't, I just woke up one day and said, hey, I want to do this. I was here every day, every night. It took me a while to, even though I had a girlfriend, this was my life. I was here every single minute that I could be because I wanted to learn and grow.
Take me a little bit through what it's like getting that gaming license, especially at such a young age. What was some of that process like?
So actually,
I want to add on to that too, because the culture here is like I've been here a year now, and everybody kind of helps everybody. Like, did you have somebody help you go and apply for the gaming? Like, did you do it yourself? Did you Google things? Like, because I find myself doing that, like learning. How did you learn the business?
Well, hold on. So the gaming license is a more detailed process. You can't just sort of go online and apply for it. There's gaming lawyers who we had, and they helped me through the process. Gary, the honest truth is being young and inexperienced totally works in your favor, because when you go through the licensing process, they want to investigate your background. That's the number one thing. They're investigating your background. And
Did anything come up with your background?
No, I'm very clean. Okay. So I was going through the process, and there was one thing when I was in England. I had a sports betting account, which I used when I was in the US, but it was in the infancy stages of all the new laws and America banning online gambling, but I was still using my English account. So when they investigated my background, they could see in my bank accounts that I'd used a UK betting account from the US while I was in the US, but for the UK, which was illegal, unbeknownst to me at the time. So I didn't know what I was doing, because I still had a UK bank account. I was still, in my mind, placing bets in the UK, but I was physically located in the US, which was illegal. And the Gaming Control Board wanted to make an example to say this is not going to be accepted going forward. So it was a little scary during the investigation that they grilled me in public and almost wanted to learn from me how I was doing it, because they wanted to make sure that in the future people wouldn't be doing that. But the idea of the process, Gary, was easy because other than the sports betting issue, I had no history. I had no trust. I had no background. I had no multiple offshore accounts. I had no other jobs. I had no other ties to anybody. I was a 29-year-old, and the only previous person for them to speak to was my school teachers. What are they going to ask?
Did they reach out to your school teachers?
No, but there was a joke from Poyer that who are they going to go ask about your school? There's no one else to talk to. I mean, in other investigations, they want to go to your homes, they want to go to your all over the place. For me,
anybody arm's reach. Yeah,
there was nothing to see. There was nowhere to go. So the process was quite quick for me, and it's a lot of paperwork. But you can't apply online because the only way to get a casino license is for a dedicated property. So I am the licensee for the Plaza. I couldn't just go online and be like, hey, I want to get a casino license.
Yeah,
it has to be for a specific location. The license stays with the location, not the individual. So if I ever leave the Plaza, I don't get to keep that license. It stays with the Plaza.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have it for the Las Vegas Club as well, or
I
was
did.
that sold already?
I did. I had it for the Las Vegas Club, and it went when we sold it. Mm-hmm. It goes with the property.
When you got the license, you applied for both, or was it under you, like just Jonathan Jossel, and then you have two properties? Or, I mean, it's under your company, right? But
Yeah, it's under the company.
It was
and
split.
it's two separate licenses.
Cool.
Against for each property, but they were approved at the same time.
You were the youngest, and you had two licenses.
Well,
That's kind of cool.
it's two locations. It's
Sure.
two locations. Yes. Yeah. It was cool, but the Las Vegas club was coming towards the end of its life at that point, so it was probably not as cool as you would think, unfortunately, because I love the Las Vegas club, but what happened to it needed to happen to it.
You clearly have a business-centric mind. You stayed here during the recession. I think I've heard a story before of you in middle school or high school or when you were younger, already starting your first business of selling, what was it, pagers or cell phone cases?
Well, no, I sold cell phones at school, but when I went to university, two friends of mine, one of them was this genius. It was 2002, and he was really good on eBay. And in 2002, eBay was brand new to the world. And I didn't know what eBay was. He said to me, hey, there's this thing called eBay. We should look into selling stuff on there. So I said, what is it? And he showed me it's like this auction site. So my father was in the electronics business, and we went to his warehouse to find things that we could try to sell. And
On eBay.
On eBay, yeah. and there was this stash of Dyson vacuum cleaners. You guys know what Dyson is? They're not as big in America as they are in England, but they're still big.
They're
here.
pretty big now.
They're
Still
big,
big,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like the DCO4 Animal and the DCO5 Upright and all these different models. And I said to one of the guys, and I said, what are these things? He goes, oh, they're refurbished Dysons that had issues. We fixed them. We don't know what to do with them because we don't sell things that aren't brand new. The world wasn't as flexible as it is now.
Sure.
So my friend goes home, he researches Dysons on eBay, and he realizes that there's a huge market for secondhand Dysons.
Wow.
So I said to them, let us take 10 and see what we can do. We sold them in the first week. I think we sold them in the first 2 days.
The whole lot that you bought?
Well, we just did 10 to start.
Okay.
So then they were like, what did you do with them? We were like, don't worry, we sold them.
We know a guy.
So they were like, well, we have another 250 of these. And we were like, so we listed 3 every day for the next 2 months. And what was happening is because eBay was new, people were bidding, and they were actually paying more for the refurbished model than the brand new one because they didn't want to lose the auction.
Yeah.
It was a psychological thing. We sold one for more than retail, and I was like, this is amazing. And then we were charging them for delivery. I think, and so what happened is we sold all 250 Dysons. We were the largest sellers of Dyson vacuum cleaners, on I think ever, except for Dyson. And basically, I don't think we would have ever gone into jobs if Dyson hadn't caught on to what we were doing. And today there's a Dyson store on eBay. Dyson owns their own store. But if Dyson hadn't done that, we would still be selling Dysons on eBay, and I probably wouldn't be here. It was an amazing business, but Dyson did catch on to it, and now today they have a Dyson store that sells lots of vacuums.
Wow. Young business mind from the start.
Well,
So, like, what did you sell in high school? You sold cell phones? Like
pagers, yeah.
Pagers? So, like, somebody would be like, hey, Jonathan, I need a pager. And
Yeah.
you're like, all right, it's going to be X amount of dollars,
Yeah.
and you could provide that?
I don't think I did a lot of them, but we were trying to. But then it wasn't like the Dysons. The Dysons really took off. Cell phones
I
and
burned
pagers was more-
CDs. I was that guy. I was like,
burned
yeah,
CDs?
I can get you Papa Roach. It's cool. Like, I could do all that.
Russ, it's 2019. You may want to explain what a pager and a CD are for some of our younger listeners.
I kind of forgot myself.
Jonathan, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite casino game when you go out and play, or at least what you did when you were younger in London?
When I was in London and when I first moved here, it was roulette. I loved roulette. But the European tables have a different order of numbers to the American roulette. So when I moved here, didn't love the roulette as much as I did when I was back in England. So I played more blackjack, and I mean, blackjack I'd play anywhere. To be honest with you, I wasn't site specific. Wherever I was, I would play a little bit if I was out, or I wouldn't leave my house and be like, I'm going to go play blackjack now. But if I was out, when I was younger, before that, it was online poker. I loved online poker, especially when I was at university. Haven't played online poker in probably 15 years, though, or even live poker. I just don't have the patience anymore for it. I know that'll hurt you, Gary, hearing that, but poker's just a dying game, I'm sorry to tell you.
Can you play roulette here at the Plaza?
Can I personally play roulette? Absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, what if I win? I'm taking my own money, and if I lose, I'm giving myself money. There's a term for that, and it isn't good.
Has your gaming taste changed over the years?
Yes, 100%. So I love you for asking that question. I do believe people's tastes evolve. I do believe you change your likes and dislikes as you get older. And today, sadly, I don't mind a slot machine from time to time. I like a game called Ultimate X. It's a video poker game with multipliers. I'm sure everyone knows it. I like occasionally playing video poker. I don't mind pinball, the classic pinball game, the old top dollar game. So, I mean, I don't play slots actively, but I enjoy them, and I did not 10 years ago. So, yeah, I'd say my tastes have evolved a little bit.
Do you enjoy the Buffalo? Or do you
No,
every now and again?
No, I haven't really got into reels yet, but I enjoy watching people play them, and I enjoy understanding the games. I understand them. I just personally wouldn't sit down and play one of them. But I there's so many variations of Buffalo, Gary. You'd have to ask me specifically. I mean, I think we have 8 variations of Buffalo ourselves here, maybe even more. So,
is that like a slang
Do you have a
term,
specific one?
like the Buffalo? Like, is there more for like different games or different vendors, or is that just like everybody knows
Buffalo
Buffalo
is a theme that's owned by Aristocrat.
Okay.
And they started with one version of it, and today there's, like I said, probably a dozen types of Buffalo. Buffalo Stampede, Buffalo Gold, Buffalo this, Buffalo that. There's just a bunch of Buffalo games, but it's just one theme that Aristocrat owns, and everyone's tried to knock it off. So there's been Rhino, there's been Bison, there's been, you name it, there's been a version, but for some reason Buffalo's the most popular animal.
Do you still live downtown?
Technically, yes. I used to live in a high-rise downtown. I did live in a high-rise for about 8 years. And then when we had our first baby, almost 4 years ago, we moved into a house, which is in the historic neighborhood. It's about 1.5 miles from the plaza, and still technically in downtown. I can walk here. So, yeah, I'd say so.
How many babies do you have now?
63.
63.
Practically.
No, I have 3. I have
Cute.
3 babies. Thank you.
Very cute. We have some questions from people on social media. Again, if anyone has questions, please feel free to email us at podcast@plazahotelcasino.com. You can tweet Jonathan at Jonathan Jossel or the Plaza at Plaza Las Vegas. Jim Go Chirps asks, there are so many great weekends in Las Vegas, like Life is Beautiful, Super Bowl weekend, New Year's Eve, Halloween. Do you have a favorite weekend of the year?
It's hard for me to say one favorite. I love all of the sporting weekends. I love March Madness, Super Bowl, what they've become from a business perspective. Personally, I enjoy those weekends as well. But right now we're sitting in the middle of the rodeo. I think the rodeo has become an incredible weekend for us and just for the whole city. I used to see downtown and the plaza, how quiet it was before we got involved in the rodeo. And to see it now is one of probably the busiest weekends of the year. It'd be hard for me to choose a better time of the year. Also, the rodeo brings such great people to town, so much energy, such nice people that it might be becoming one of my favorite weekends. Even though I understand very little of the culture and I'm still learning it, it might be becoming one of my favorites. But overall, I'd probably be a mixture between, not a mixture, but either, I don't have a one. I'm sorry. I'm going to punt. But I'd say either March Madness, rodeo, or the Demolition Derby.
When you speak about the rodeo right now, I mean, when you say rodeo, there's people actually participating in a rodeo right on our south land.
Yeah, think about
Plaza
this.
rodeo.
We have 280 horses sleeping here each night. You can kiss your horse goodnight, come inside, gamble, and your horse is cool outside, and then go in the morning and do an early morning ride. Where else in the world, other than the South Point, because I respect them greatly, can you put your horse to bed and then come inside, gamble, eat, and partake in all the fun that Vegas has to offer?
Well, it's unbelievable that there's horses and there's steer just sitting right here in downtown Las Vegas.
It's incredible. I was driving to work on Main Street in Bonneville. A guy was walking his horse down the busy road.
I think you mean on the corner of Main Street.
On the corner of Main Street, exactly.
I mean, like what you just described, Demolition Derby, and we've had like monster trucks, and we've had other events that all happens in our arena. Like what was it like to bring? You brought a whole venue down here, and it's a different change of pace. It's not for concerts. It's not for like the normal atmosphere. Like you've injected that downtown.
So I love that being a privately owned company, being the CEO, we can try anything here. There's no such thing as a bad idea. It may not work out as well, but we'll try pretty much anything because we can, and that's how we differentiate ourselves. And when the rodeo idea came up 3 years ago, I'll be honest, I didn't have a vision that we might be doing demolition derbies and monster trucks, but I believed in what we were going to try with the rodeo, and organically it grew into something much bigger, which includes monster trucks, demolition derbies, and a few other events that we're working on. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to build an arena and all these events are going to come to us. It's naturally grown into that. The rodeo, we do Las Vegas Days Rodeo in May, and we do the NFR in December. And we work on a few other equestrian events attached to both of them. But those are the two foundations of trying this out, trying out this arena. All the other stuff is sort of evolved.
Experimental.
And I'm a big believer in trying new things, bringing new people to downtown. Demolition Derby sold out 2,500 tickets. That's 2,500 people that otherwise would not be downtown.
And that was the first demolition derby ever in downtown Las Vegas. Not this past one, but
The one in March.
The one in March.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. That was 2 days. The one we just did in November was 3 days.
I mean, part of my favorite holiday here is definitely 4th of July. I got to do the hot dog contest. That was super fun.
Yes,
like I got
did.
to MC that. That was to say I got to do that during the 4th of July in Vegas in a pool party. That was like, bucket list. Check that off. But I mean, like, you're always making noise down here. It's always fireworks, and then we have demolition derby, and then you have like, 1,000 horsepower monster trucks. Like, you're always trying to draw attention here. Like that's kind of your thing, right? Like you like to be known around. How do you phrase that?
Well, I had a problem when I took over the plaza. I felt, and maybe it was just an internal feeling, but I felt like the plaza wasn't remembered. It wasn't relevant. People didn't talk about us. People didn't think about us. We were at the head of Fremont Street. We're the second biggest hotel downtown in terms of hotel rooms. We're the biggest hotel in terms of land size, and yet we're 17 acres. And yet we weren't relevant. People weren't talking about us. We weren't thought of. We were just an afterthought. And that was my perception of it, maybe not a fact. So by doing fireworks and by doing demolition derbies and by putting the murals on the building, it gives people something to remember us, to hear us, to see us. It just reminds them that we're still here and we're still making noise and we're doing okay. And that's my way of reminding everybody that we're still going.
We're the place to be downtown.
We're the place to be downtown, and we will have the biggest fireworks show we've ever done on New Year's Eve, which I'm very excited about.
It's going to be good. We'll have a party in Oscars here, too. Another question from 530 Ace. What growth opportunities do you see in the future for the plaza and for downtown in general?
So I think the obvious thing for downtown is more hotel rooms are coming online, which is great. We need more people staying down here, and new product, nicer product, which will attract new audience downtown. I think the other big opportunity is new convention space. There's a new convention space being built to the west of the plaza, which is going to be very, very good for all of us down here. Conventions fill midweek occupancy. So I think that's a huge opportunity, plus the fact that we just remodeled our convention center, so we're going to have new space available. And for the plaza, what I'm most focused on is continuing to do new rooms. We just did 120 new luxe rooms, and that's a big deal for us. That's our nicest room product we have, and I think that's going to be really, really cool. That is really, really cool, but to have more like that is something that we're working on. But then I want to really add in a nighttime element where right now the plaza has a lounge, but we don't have a bar. We don't have an after-hours drinking place. We're working on a few concepts for next year where we have more beverage, late-night drinking, and a bit more of an evening atmosphere. Definitely not a nightclub. We're not a nightclub audience. We're not a nightclub crowd downtown. But a new bar and a new venue for us to have for late night is something we're working on.
Can you say anything more about that?
maybe in the future.
Ooh.
I like that we don't have nightclubs down here. It's a different atmosphere. That's the Vegas kind of like, vision you see when you first land. It's all nightclubs and stuff, but like downtown, it's like you're gonna put a coin in a slot machine. It's gonna feel like when you walk through the movies, like Casino was shot here.
Mm-hmm.
It feels that way.
It should.
It still feels that way to
Absolutely.
this day. I sit at that table all the time just to sit there. I take pictures and post it online. Like that table is incredible.
All right, we have
Thank
one
you.
more question for you, Jonathan, from the people of social media.
Yes.
What is your favorite part of being the CEO? Bruce would like to know.
My favorite part of being the CEO at the Plaza is probably getting to meet all the wonderful people that I do, getting to know all of our team members through different initiatives that we have, and really it's getting to watch the Plaza evolve from what it used to be into what it's becoming today. And I know we still have a long way to go of what we want to accomplish here, but getting to see that growth firsthand is very exciting to me. And I love that we have, I think I touched on this earlier, but the freedom to be pretty much whatever we want to be. We don't have anyone here micromanaging us. We do what we want to do. We can take care of people the way we want to take care of them. We can change things that we want to change. And we're a small, nimble company that has the freedom to do those things. So it's hard for me to say there's anywhere in the world I'd rather be.
Oh, very nice.
Except the corner of Main Street.
Well, we are on the corner of Main Street.
That's what I'm saying.
Love it. So if you have any more questions for Jonathan, tweet him at Jonathan Jossel, or you can email us at podcast@plazahotelcasino.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Plaza Las Vegas. And we look forward to talking to you all again next week. We have a lot more to cover, a lot more juicy details to spill.
Exciting. Thank you.
For On the
Corner of Main Street.